Hi, I'm Shane Paul Neal, and we're back with the latest episode of Our Montclair, a video, podcast, and news story series produced by Montclair Local in collaboration with Good Talk Productions. You can always find the latest from Our Montclair at MontclairLocal.news / Our Montclair. This episode is a little different than our past installments. For this episode, I worked with Montclair Local's Human Connections reporter, Diego Jesus Bartesaghi Mena, and Montclair Local editor, Louis C. Hochman, to tell the story of Maria Delgado and the rest of the Chavarria family, immigrants from Nicaragua who arrived in Montclair in 2019 as political refugees. We set out to talk to families about the digital divide, the gaps in access and technology in our community. The Chavarrias always had internet access, arriving to America with smartphones and later buying their own computer. What we learned, though, is that technical access is one thing. Being able to make use of a world of new systems designed for people who speak a language different than yours is another. There are parts of two interviews reflected in this episode. One that Diego and I conducted with the full family, and another that Diego and Lou conducted with Maria, the mother of the family. You'll also hear occasional voiceovers where, with Diego's help, we translated parts of the interviews conducted in Spanish. But first, let's hear a bit from Diego about his takeaways. Diego, you got to speak to family in town that hasn't been here very long. They immigrated from Nicaragua. Tell us a little bit about them and a little bit about their experience.
Yeah. Like you imagine, like any immigrant that comes here, especially as a refugee, that you have to leave everything home. You come with nothing, with very little belongings, with not a lot of resources, and also not a lot of connections here in town. They were able to stay with Father Benny Prado at the church, and after that they were able to work their way out and to be able to afford an apartment. The father's name is Roger Chavarria. The mom is Maria, and the two girls, like this, the youngest girl is Camila, and the oldest is Isabel.
Talk to me a little bit about the family's experience prior to the pandemic, even just in terms of enrolling in school. Genesis comes up a lot, which is the online platform that Montclair uses for enrollment. Just some of the challenges and stuff they experienced as they were working on that piece.
When they came to Montclair, they thought nobody would speak Spanish. They thought that everyone in town spoke English, and they didn't even know where to start. The mom, Maria, she spoke a little bit of English because she came here to the country when she was 14. Also as a political refugee with her family. So, understanding Genesis, which is, like you said, the online platform, that is something like completely new to all of us. I mean, like, it was new during the pandemic, but in our countries we don't have that. Everything is in person, so that's why they went to school. They were able to, like, asking questions about how to enroll the girls, how to get the classes, which bus they need to take, if they have to pay for lunches, things like that. So they were able to get a lot of help.
It's funny because having watched my son and daughter enroll and deal with Genesis, it's not easy for anybody. And it's only compounded, I'm sure, dealing with, language issues or anything else. So we'll talk to them some more and listen to them and talk about their experience with enrollment and everything else.
Hello, my name is Maria Delgado. I come from Nicaragua. My husband is Roger Chavarria, and I have 4 kids. But living in this country with me, I have just my 3 daughters. One is in high school, one is in middle school, and the other one is 26 and she's married, so she's not in the school. We just moved from Nicaragua because there were very difficult times for us in the political situation. There was like an internal war in my country. And for my husband, he used to work for a private company, but it was managed by the government. And it was very difficult because in our country, you cannot be, or you're part of the enemy, or you're terrible. So he had to go out of work, and a lot of how you say this, persecution. I don't know. There
Hmm.
were sometimes my English is not that good. Spanish people
Your
driving
English is
to
much better than
struggle
my
here.
Spanish. You're fine. You're doing fine.
So his life was in danger. So he came here to this country in 2019. 8 months later, he um, he sent money and bring us here to this country.
First of all, you keep excusing your English. You are doing great. You are communicating very clearly. I'm understanding everything you're saying.
Thank you.
You are doing just fine. But what is the situation like in your household with how well everybody speaks English? Is it a bit of a mix? Do some members of the family speak better than others?
Well, my daughters and me are the ones that speaks very not very good, but they speak very good. The
I'm
girls.
telling you, you're speaking fine. You're doing great.
So my husband is not that a good talker. He understands a little bit, but it's difficult for an adult to be able
Absolutely.
to learn and speak very good, right? Another language.
Even so, Camilla, the family's younger daughter, told us it took some time to get acclimated. It's an increasingly common challenge in Montclair. In 2017, the Montclair School District served 31 students classified as English language learners. This according to figures provided by the district to the Montclair Fund for Educational Excellence and shared with Montclair Local earlier this year. At the end of the 2021 school year, there were 75 ELL students. What was your first days of school like?
I think I'm speaking for the both of us when I say that when we arrived, we felt like everyone was staring at us, like the new kids, But the teachers helped us a lot, and in the ESL classes we learned the language, and little by little we were able to communicate with people. It wasn't hard, but it still was sort of a bad experience.
En las clases de ESL aprendimos más o menos el idioma y ya, o sea, en poco tiempo nos podíamos comunicar con gente y todo eso, entonces no fue tan difícil, pero sí fue una más o menos fea experiencia.
When your family first got here, was it only your husband who lived in the church for a while, or the entire family lived in the church for a while?
Well, my husband lived in the church because Father Benny helped him to establish here and help him. He gave him a space to live there.
Mhm.
And when we came with my family, the girls, we live in the church too, in that facility.
So when you first got here, and I guess starting off with that living arrangement, what was your access to technology like at the time? Did you have a computer? Did you have reliable access to internet?
Well, we didn't have a computer at the beginning,
Okay.
but the phones are beautiful here. You can do everything, pay your bills, pay the bus. You get the Apple Pay. We don't have that in our country. Oh my God, we don't have nothing in our country. So it was a very helpful to have the internet very good in our devices because we didn't have computer at the beginning.
And this was
And
all on mobile devices, all on phones and things like that?
yes, only on phones at the beginning.
How long did you go before you had reliable access to a computer?
Maybe like last year, 1 year and something, 1 year and a half, maybe 1 year. In my country, you have to have access to internet or to the mobile device with the little cards that you put money in, and then you put like $5 for maybe 15 days for like I don't know some little thing of internet that you have in your device. So when we arrive here, uh, first of all, to go shopping, oh my God, if you don't know the language, to get in a bus, to know the coins and everything, it was such a struggle. But uh, a beautiful thing here is the internet, the access that you have because you can Google it. I remember that with my little kids, my husband was working very hard. He had two jobs at the beginning. So we put the directions of the supermarket, we put the buses, the steps, everything in Spanish, and nobody can get lost here. Nobody. At the beginning, I was afraid, but I have my two little girls that they're very good in technology, so they help me a lot.
Were there things that it was difficult to access just because they weren't made for Spanish speakers? And again, not only the school, but anything, online shopping, or access to things in the town, or access to resources you needed, or communicating with people you cared about? What sort of a experience was that?
Well, we are still struggling. So um, sometimes it's hard to translate things in Spanish because, sometimes in English, you say a sentence and it means something else that you're translating in Spanish. So we get a little lost, but we have a lot of help of my two girls. I think most of the parents that don't speak Spanish and they have kids, that's the help that they got because it's very confusing translating everything to go, even to buy things or put a direction sometimes, or I don't know. There is something confusing translating to Spanish, even in the application that you have in the phone to translate. It's not like very good translated to Spanish.
Right.
But with the girls, I think when you have kids, they help you a lot. A lot.
What would probably be sort of the most complicated thing when it came to that issue, when it came to things through technology that weren't really made for Spanish speakers? What gave you the most trouble, and how'd you compensate for it? How'd you deal with it?
Well, the directions to go from one place to another place. Yeah, because every person that comes here doesn't have a car right away. Has to be in the bus always, or take the train if you go to New York and work. So I think getting directions, it was hard for me. Yes, I got
How
lost
did
fairly.
you ultimately make it work?
Oh my God, you have to make it work because if not, it's trouble. I got lost like 7 times, I think. 3 times when I went to work to New York because, oh my God, there's a lot of words downtown, uptown, the trains, where do we take them? And the application doesn't literally says where to go. So that was a very difficult time. And in the bus, that too.
I mean, I know when I've traveled to other countries where I don't speak the language, eventually I can usually get by, or maybe I can find somebody to help me with something I don't understand. But if that was my whole life, it's one thing to do it for a week. It's one thing to say, like, this is going to be a little hard today, but they know I'm a tourist and I'll get through it. And
Yeah.
places are so, accommodating for American tourists anyway and provide so much in English. But then if it was my whole life that, I don't get a break from this. I don't get, that in a week I go back to my own language. I
Yeah,
can think
no,
that would
you
be
don't
pretty
get it.
overwhelming. Yeah.
Sometimes you get tired. Sometimes you
Sure.
get tired and frustrated, but you have to deal with it and you have to get over and move on because if not, you cannot do nothing in this country if you stay there. Like if you paralyzed and you are scared, you cannot do nothing. And if you have kids and you have to work, you have to manage to get along.
You hear references to the technology the family had throughout the episode. The Chavarrias came to the U.S. with smartphones in 2019, but bought a secondhand computer in early 2020. Marie and the kids tell us it didn't work very well and would sometimes shut off, but they got by. The Montclair Public School District later got them a Chromebook in the early days of the pandemic, and then 2 in the 2020-21 school year. The family eventually also bought another computer to replace one that often malfunctioned. And while they always had internet access, making use of it could sometimes be a challenge. Maria particularly struggled with Genesis, the portal Montclair schools use for registration, schedules, report cards, and almost everything else. She found Major Jennings, then the assistant principal at Buzz Aldrin Middle School, was a huge help.
The school told me to wait until a web page or a portal was ready. In our country, we're not used to that, right? Everything is personal. So they told me about a page called Genesis. And I said, Genesis what? I just didn't know. I arrived to the school and told Mr. Jennings that I didn't know how to use Genesis, that I didn't know how to log in.
Que no sabía cómo usar Génesis, que no sabía cómo entrar. En realidad en nuestro país ni siquiera podemos meter notas en la computadora, todo es sin computadora, sin nada en línea, ¿verdad?
He was very kind
Y él
and
bien
told me
amable
not
me
to
dijo,
worry.
no te
He
preocupes,
said, just
déjame
leave
los
me the
nombres de
names of
las
your
niñas
daughters,
y yo voy
and
a
my
hacer
team
todo
will
eso
take care of
con mi
it.
personal
I'll
y
tell you
después
which
yo
bus
te voy a
to
decir
take,
qué bus van a
their
tomar,
schedule,
el
and
horario
everything.
de ellas y todo.
Mr. Jennings came
Director
over and gave
llegó
me
a
all the
dejarle todos los
documents
documentos
already
de las
enrolled
niñas
in Genesis.
ya inscritas en Génesis.
He explains to me
Me
that the girls
explicó
have
que
free
tenían las
food,
comidas gratis,
where to
el
catch the
bus donde lo
bus,
iban a
their
agarrar.
class schedule,
Bueno,
how
las
to log on
clases,
into
todo
Genesis.
cómo iba a entrar yo a esa página. Realmente que
It was
bien
very
desafiante
hard because
para
we don't
uno que
have
está
anything
latino,
like
¿verdad?
that in our
Y que en nuestros
countries.
países no tenemos ningún conocimiento de esos portales, ¿verdad? Como estudiantes para los niños.
You mentioned most things you were able to do, pretty well with even the smartphones and things.
Yes.
What about what about doing schoolwork and things like that for the family?
No, we cannot do it in the phone. You have to have a computer.
So how did they make do at that point? Did they go to the library? Did they, work around that? What did your children do during that period?
Because they were 6 months in school in person.
Mm-hmm.
So they did their homeworks and everything in the old and that computer that I told you that it was old
Mm-hmm.
and shutting down. And then they were off of school. They were on vacations, and then the COVID came, so they don't have to struggle a little bit with the computer because we managed a little bit with that old one, but it was not that necessary at the beginning when you have in-person
Okay.
classes. Just to do some works or something that the girls had to do some programs that you cannot download them in the phone. You have to do it in the computer. And I think it was only like a little struggle that we did at the beginning with that, but then everything went off and we got the crumbles for the girls. Because
Okay.
most of the things that you do for kids in the school, you have to do it online. You cannot do it on the phone. You have to do it in the computer. It's better.
The pandemic caught everyone off guard. The school district scrambled to get Chromebooks in students' hands in the spring of 2020 as shutdowns were ordered. School Superintendent Jonathan Pons and Technology Director Chris Graber both told Montclair Local they took orders of Chromebooks not working well, webcams and audio not working, or similar issues that were ironed out over the next several months. As they brought more Chromebooks, they struggled with the supply chain issues as well. In one district survey conducted in August of 2020, 726 of the 6,569 respondents said they had no computers or Chromebooks available to their children at all. About 2,900 said they had no second devices for their students. This is very similar to the situation the Chavarrias found themselves in when they first arrived to America.
Then, in February, everything was uncertain. We didn't know what was going to happen. We only had one computer at home, and the school said that they wouldn't be coming back to classes and that everything would be online. It was something that affected us because it was going to be a truly big change. The school helped us with lunch, since the girls were part of the free lunch in Montclair, and they told us that they could come and bring the food. It seemed a lot of people didn't have the transportation to go and pick up the food. So they brought us the food, and that was surprising. We spent 3 months without working, and thank God we were okay. And the girls, with the computer, helped them a lot in school. They only gave us one since we already had another one. And we had internet at home, and the school was going to provide it. They gave us a hotspot. The girls' teachers were always speaking with them, doing surveys with them, asking them how they were and how they were feeling during this time. I think it went well since we knew some English when the pandemic hit. And like my mom said, all the teachers were helping the students. And they really tried so the students could learn and stay engaged. Because in the house, there's a lot of distraction.
Y que estuvieran comprometidos, ya que, o sea, en su casa tienen muchas distracciones y fueron bastante difíciles porque
virtual classes were very challenging because no one had gone through something like this. And we were just getting used to the school and everything there. Then we're having classes in our home. So it was difficult, but we got used to it.
Después tuvimos que tener el colegio en la casa. Entonces sí fue difícil, pero ya después como que nos acostumbramos. I feel like the first year they were like they didn't know what was happening, so they weren't like ready for what was about to happen. This year they were like, okay, this is happening and we're ready for whatever. And yeah, like my mom said, sometimes Google Classroom crashed down and we didn't have classes and stuff. But now it doesn't, and they know what to do if it does. So
Todo lo tenían bien pues
Everything was well
programado, las
prepared. The
clases, cómo
classes,
iban a
what they
estar.
were doing
Ya
after
no
the
se caía el
classes.
sistema
The
porque se
system
les
didn't
caía a veces
crash
y se
because when it
quedaban
did, they
sin
couldn't have
clase, las
class.
niñas en
And the
línea.
girls
No,
are online all through
este
2020.
2020,
Now this
el
year has been
2020,
better for
¿verdad?
them.
Ese año
I don't
fue
think we had any
bien para
computer
ellos.
issues, right?
In our conversation with the Chavarrias, they were deeply appreciative of the level of technological access they now have and the assistance they received with it. But in a household of four, one second-hand computer, as it had in early 2020, only goes but so far. That's part of why the Chromebooks provided by the district proved to be so valuable.
Entonces,
I
para mí, a
sometimes do
veces
work
es
on the
importante
computer, so
que
for
ellas
me,
tengan
it's
uno
important for them to have a computer
cuando
for
estén
school
haciendo
so
cosas
that I
del
can use
colegio,
the
porque yo
others.
ocupo la, a ver,
Well, we're still sharing.
Sure.
We have two now, but we're still sharing, and we manage. It's difficult, but when you have to how you say this, when you have that situation, you have to manage to figure out how many hours that the kids have the computer, my husband or me. Sometimes my oldest daughter use my the kids computer, so we manage.
You know, you sound very grateful for the one, by the way, for the access you do have, and how that compares to even the situation in Nicaragua. But are there things that are challenges because some families have more, some families have less, and you're sort of in between.
Well, you know when you come from a country that you don't have nothing, Luis, you're very grateful of the little things that you have at the beginning. And I think that we have struggled a lot in our country, and the things that we have, and we are how you say, we're hardworking people. We struggle. We manage to get things done. I know that at this time we have maybe 30-40% of everything sort of kind of solved. A lot of things that we haven't solved. A lot of people have more things than us, but I think that that doesn't make like a big difference, because you come from a country that is very bad, the economy, the situation, jobs. Some people work there and they made $300 a month.
Sure.
Sometimes the food is limited, everything is limited, and you come to this country, and we share the house. We live in a house that three families live in there. But we're very grateful because we have a lot of things that in that little place that we have in my house right now, we didn't have in our town, in our house. So I know we're going to get there. My kids are going to get there too, to have everything, the access, everything that all the kids in this school have.
Is there something that, like, right now, if you were to go try to do it, would be so much easier than 2 years ago when you first got here, because you have computers, because you have reliable internet, because you have a more stable situation with technology? Are there things that are just easier to get done in your life right now?
Well, I learned very good how to travel in trains and in bus and the Google map. I don't get lost now. I'm very good at it. I think that that was a very good thing that happened to me. I can manage that very good, and with the school too. I think they have a very good program, and I'm learning a lot to get the best things for the girls. I'm learning how to know where are some, how you say, recreation things for the girls in our town. I didn't know that, and we have very good access at it, and I think that's very easy to me now to
And
do.
that's become easier because you have so much easier access to technology than you did?
Yes.
Okay.
Technology and knowledge too.
That increased familiarity is in part the product of the family's perseverance. It's also the product of the community support provided by programs like Navegadores Escolares, or School Navigators. The program created by the Montclair Fund for Educational Excellence pairs Spanish-speaking immigrants with Spanish-speaking residents to help them access school and township services. It also connects them with a larger community of Spanish speakers, which many families say has been particularly invaluable in a time when so much interaction happens so remotely.
Genesis, first of all, oh my God, that is such a mystery and such a headache. Yeah, for us, Latin people that doesn't know how to navigate in that. But you know, the school program connected me to a wonderful humans, a una maravillosa persona, is Maciel Rodriguez. She's from McPhee. Oh my God, that lady is an angel, really. For September, she helped me roll the kids in. Me ayudó a conocer.
She helped me learn about programs my daughters could join from home. She enrolled them in summer school, and I didn't even know about that.
Unas escuelas de verano que yo no sabía, realmente uno no sabe aquí.
On the right side, how are y'all feeling about going back to school in September, like in person?
I think it's gonna be better, but I'm also nervous because most of the year we were online, so
Transition.
Yeah, and another thing is they don't have friends because they just came 6 months and then pandemic.
Right.
So maybe that's a little challenging for them.
So it's like a new beginning.
A new beginning, yeah. Like if they are starting, but they know English now,
Right.
but they are starting new.
Well, the good news is you're going to high school this year, right? So the good news is you're going in with 1,000 kids who are going through the same thing you're going through. Everybody's in the first charge, so you got it from there.
That's good.
So you'll be okay. And in my experience, honestly, you find your cliques, you find your people quickly enough. You know, it's a little awkward in the beginning, but I think you guys will be all right.
When we moved here, I was afraid because I thought nobody would help us. And the truth is, we are very surprised at all the help we've received. I feel like the residents have helped us even more. For example, Mr. Jennings at the beginning of the school year came personally to where we lived to give us all the information. Imagine if every teacher goes to every family's home. I think they wouldn't have time. This beautiful experience we're living here in the U.S. has opened a lot of doors for us. It made us feel special.
A darnos toda esa información, imagínense que cada profesor fuera a cada casa de padres de familia, digo yo, no le daría tiempo para nada.
Working with you on this story, I had a vision of what I thought this story would end up being, especially given the challenges and difficulties that the family was facing. I wasn't expecting this sort of positive outcome or experience, if you can call it a positive experience as a whole. I expected to hear about gaps and difficulties because this was very much a get up and go situation. There wasn't a plan that existed in case there's a pandemic, what to do with the schools or anything else. And with them being in a more vulnerable community than many of us in town, I expected to hear this sort of struggle story. And it really wasn't that. It's a testament not only to the family and their resilience, but to the way the town itself was able to pull its resources together and get things going as best as they could and as quickly as they could.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think, like you said, I think when we speak about immigrants community or underrepresented communities, refugees, we also have this idea, right, of the family to be, struggling all the time with a lot of trauma. I'm not saying the family had that because definitely they did, but also what you said is the community itself, right? I think one of the takeaways I also saw in the, like speaking with the family, also with the interviews, is that the community was, even though they didn't have a plan, then later on they were able to come together and actually help each other, help everyone. And I think the family, what they did is just ask for help. They didn't ask for a special treatment. They didn't ask for anything that other families were asking. So just to do that, I think that proof that, you know, in challenging times, in a struggle, in times of struggle, we can pull together as a community, and regardless of our race, regardless of our language, regardless of where we come from, you know, we are in the same boat, and we were able to move forward that and, you know, build a stronger community.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to reading the story. I'm also looking forward to seeing, you know, if we can kind of circle back in a few months to see how the kids are doing, how the families are navigating being in school in person this time, which brings its own, it's weird. It's a trade-off. It's like you have all the advantages of being in school, but now the social component begins. Like, yes, you get the immersion with language, but after 2 years of, you know, being at home, what does it mean now to go to a school? And both of them are going to new schools, if I'm not mistaken. The youngest is going to Buzz Aldrin, and the older is going to be a freshman at Montclair High. So seeing what those transitions are will be interesting to see. But thank you again, Diego, for everything. This is the third time we've put this together. We had some technical issues, but you know, Diego's been great with helping with the translation for the video itself, conducting the interview. He's an awesome reporter and all the things. So look forward to working with him again sometime soon.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Shane.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Right.
See y'all later. Thanks on behalf of myself and Montclair Local for taking this time with Our Montclair and the Chavarria family. And a big thanks to Diego for providing translations, and to my wife, Aaliyah, for voicing them. You can always find the latest video episode of Our Montclair at facebook.com/Montclair Local. And please don't forget to read the full story accompanying this episode written by Diego at MontclairLocal.news /Our Montclair.